Hi, welcome to Gouache with Anne. Today I'm going to do a tutorial about shapes. So shapes is a big subject when it comes to painting and it comes to your composition. So I'll probably be doing not just one, but maybe two or even three I think I could possibly do about it, just to make it very clear and not put too much information in one video. So today what I'm going to do, just quickly, I'm in my neighborhood and I'm going to show you 3 different viewpoints that you could use for a composition and how you can look at them for their shapes and simplify. That's the key word, is simplify, so that you don't get overwhelmed. So behind me is my fire hall, my local fire hall. You can see it's a beautiful building, but it is quite complicated. And so for this kind of for architecture, what the best thing to do is you want to break it down into the big shapes, the medium shapes, and the small shapes, and then the details. And that's the simplest way to approach it. So in this building, just quickly, you can see that the biggest shape is the whole building. It's almost a square. You can also break it down again into more squares or rectangles for the windows, rectangles for the doors, half circles for some of the big fire hall doors, and triangles. So that's the approach that I'll be showing you. Next, we're going to look at the park, and I'll show you the difference between, or I'll talk to you about the difference between geometric and freeform. So now I'm standing in front of the park where there's lots of trees, and this is going to be more about the freeform shapes. So you can see all those trees together form one big shape, and that's really important. So that's your big shape. And then you can get into the medium shapes. You can distinguish some of those trees within that shape. And maybe like in this example, you've got the red tree. So that kind of stands out. And then the other part is that you have some trees on their own, and you've got this tree here, which is by itself, and you want to get big shape of that whole tree and its trunk all in one go. So that's the freeform idea of shapes. So in this composition behind me, what I'm really interested in is the shape of the buildings and how interesting that is. And that's what I like to look for when I'm doing kind of a neighborhood scene or a street scene. And so what you want is you want to capture that big shape, and then eventually you'll make it into the medium shapes and the smaller shapes. So I start by putting in the big shapes. Here is a rectangle, and I'll divide it up into squares. Squares are really easy to do. And now I'll divide it into rectangles. So you can see how I'm trying to find shapes that are easier to draw, and I slowly work into the details. So doing some of the windows, the tops of the windows, the fire hall doors with the square and the semicircle on the top, and then the squiggly line for the tree. This exercise is about how to see big shapes and medium shapes and small shapes. So you can see I've got the buildings and the trees all together as one big shape, and then I slowly start to divide them down into medium and then into small, and finally I'm working on the details. What this really helps to do is organize your thoughts when it comes to your composition. And you can see that you can work on the bigger shapes first and slowly move into the details, and as opposed to not knowing where to start and working on details first. In this composition, I've organized my thoughts by doing the big shape in the background and slowly working to the medium shape, the smaller shapes, and the details. And that will help me when I start to do my painting. I'll start by doing a quick pencil sketch onto my paper, concentrating on the big shapes, the medium shapes, and the smaller shapes. And this helps, of course, when I start to paint, because I kind of have a sense of where I'm putting the colors. And I'll start with a wash, and that will also give me a nice sense of how the painting will look after I finish the wash and I apply the gouache. I'll start working with the gouache and I'll work from back to front. So I'll be working on the sky first. I can have the gray of the sky go into the trees, overlapping them, because the trees are going to be done in opaque gouache, and of course I'm going to be doing those next, so I can just go over the gray. Because the trees have such nice fall colors, I want to make sure that I get those bright colors in, and I'll tone them down afterwards. I mix a lot of different colors into the green. I like to mix yellow to make it warm. Sometimes I put a bit of red. Red's a really nice color to add to green. And of course, there's also the blue shades of green. And that adds a nice contrast between the warm and the cool. You can see that I'm still working on the big shape of the trees in the background. And even though I've differentiated some of them because of their colors, I'm still working on this bigger shape. The reflections in the water are quite dark, and some of the trees that are further back aren't reflecting, but there's still the red from the big red tree and the trunk, so that's important to get in, and also the little white building is also reflected. Now I'll work on the larger shape in the foreground, and it's all green, so I'm going to put down a base layer of green, mostly light. And after that, I'll start working on the medium shape areas and darker greens. And eventually I'll be working on the details in the dark shades and also where the shadows are. I'm pretty well finished the trees in the background. I still have a few more details to put in, but I think they're looking pretty good. So I still have the foreground area to work on, and that is going to, I'm going to add a lot more detail. I'm going to add a lot more little leaves that you can see, and also I'll add a lot more dark. I'll work on finishing the area in the front by adding a few of the few details, like marks that indicate leaves and in various shades, and some dark, some light, and work a little bit more on the shadows. Last but not least, I'll put in some sky holes for the trees in the background, some white sparkles in places that I think could use it. And that will be it for this painting. Here's the final painting. I think it turned out quite nicely. I think it has a nice fall feeling to it. So to reiterate some of the takeaways from this tutorial, remember to simplify. Remember big, medium, and small shapes and then details. And I hope this helps in your next painting. See you next time. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe so you don't miss out on any new videos coming up. Like the video, and if you have any questions, please comment in the comments below.